dubbed the condition nostalgia.
The VHS look has been popular lately in music videos and other video art as the 90s come back into fashion.
Aesthetic. Everyone loves these. Like, literally everyone. I know this topic has been covered like a million times now, and some would say it's getting repetitive, but I had this video on the works for like 2 weeks now, so I have no other choice but to finish it. Also, I really want to share my thoughts about this, and I also wanted to share some of my favorite memorable aesthetic / nostalgic media that I've encountered throughout the years. And obviously that could be this, or this, and this. Nostalgia and aesthetic is like one of those things that you can't live without, because sometimes we just want to take a break of the fast-moving world and just enjoy and appreciate the beauty of things. And aesthetic can be anything, a piece of art, music, any visuals that can make you appreciate the beauty of it. And I know when we say aesthetic, most of us would think it would be those VHS or the 80s and 90s media. I mean, you're not wrong, but if you know the true meaning of aesthetic, it's basically anything that looks beautiful. But of course, when we talk about aesthetic, it usually comes with a feeling of don't we all love that feeling? The feeling of longing for the past or something that didn't even happen in your childhood but somehow feels nostalgic for whatever reason. Nostalgia refers to those wistful, sentimental feelings that surface when you recall a significant experiences, relationships, and even places and other bits of the past. Like, for me, it could be those times where I was watching Kim Possible and I was just there waiting for Shigo. Oh, mommy! Or it could be those godlike moments that I had in Feeding Frenzy, or those countless of hours playing Flash games. And those are just a few examples of what I can give. Nostalgia is just a difficult topic for me to talk about because my English sucks, but I'll try to do my best. And in this video, I'm just gonna share to you my favorite nostalgia cores in all different forms of media. So let's start with as a kid, I was a non-stop listener to Linkin Park, the dubstep god, the rap god, and I can't say this group's name, and this sweet innocent girl. Music just have so much impact over all of us growing up, because not only did it made us land to our taste of any musical genres, it also did add more emotions to those memorable past events and feelings that we had for like years into the past or not that long ago. And back then, I was just jamming to any kind of music. Like, I was over there spitting the lyrics of
Hi, my name is what? My name is
I know there's an endless list of music that brings out nostalgia to everyone, but for me, nothing hits harder than M83. I absolutely love this group. The first time that I ever stumbled upon their music was in 2009 with their hit single We Own the Sky, and then after that, their album Hurry Up, We're Dreaming. And I was just hooked up right from the get-go, and my love for this group grew stronger when Felix used The Bright Flash as his outro. Their music just feels so different at that time because, you know, I was into dubstep and hip-hop during those years, and M83 started my love for this orgasmic type of music. And that's the main reason why they're so nostalgic for me, and I'm pretty sure it will stay like that till I'm out of here. Obviously, even to this day, I still listen to their music, and my favorite song of theirs is Steve McQueen. But while I was still jamming to M83 and was exploring around the golden age of YouTube, I then discovered this channel called Electronic Gems, and oh boy, this was a game changer. This was where I discovered a whole new genre of music that includes synthwave, chillwave, vaporwave, and lo-fi. And my love for these genres were just overflowing around that time to the point where I completely forgot that I was a huge fan of Skrillex. Music plays a crucial part in nostalgia because not only can it trigger nostalgia faster, it can also trigger an emotion that matches the emotion that felt at the time the event happened. And no matter what kind of music you're into, if that music brings back good and bad memories after years later of discovering it, that right there really just says that music really did add more emotions to those memories, and that's why it's memorable. Even today, when I listen to the Living Tombstone's My Ordinary Life, I still get this nostalgic feeling of running away because when I was listening to that song years ago, I was always getting chased by dogs in my neighborhood. I was running. A fear for my life. But yeah, music does bring so much nostalgia, and of course their MVs as well. It just makes the song more cooler, especially when it matches perfectly. And since I mentioned that, I think it's the perfect time to talk about growing up. I've always loved watching different kinds of movies. And when I say movies, I meant movies like this. And not this. Movies have always been in my mid-tier list when it comes to nostalgia, cause most of the movies that I've watched back then as a kid was horror. And not many of them really brings back any nostalgia. But amongst all the eerie and endless screams that I've witnessed in horror, I do have a list of movies that really brings out that comfy feeling. Like Independence Day is one of those examples. It's primarily because of that speech Bill Pullman gave at the end of the movie, and also Will Smith smacking the hell out of Chris Rock. Wait, wrong movie. It was just a one hell of a ride because of its non-stop action and its comedy. And what made it nostalgic for me? Well, that should be obvious. But overall, the movie wasn't that bad. It had its shares of amazing shots and the aesthetics. And the story was kinda good. I actually love that movie. I just love it when movies does this thing where the MC would be in such amazing shots, especially when it blends perfectly with the colors around them, because, you know, cinematography matters. And with good cinematography is what gives the movie its beauty. Basically all the memorable movies that I've watched throughout the years that brings me so much nostalgia, even if I'm like rewatching it for like 100 times, are those with amazing cinematography and relatable characters. And it's more easier to feel nostalgic when watching a movie that has an older look to it. And speaking of aesthetic, I don't think anything will ever beat the beauty of the cyberpunk look. And how can I forget about Wes Anderson, Quentin Tarantino, and Christopher Nolan? They are just magnificent. Movies are just so aesthetically nostalgic when they try to look amazing, memorable even. Like, the movies that usually stands out the most to me when it comes to nostalgia are those movies that has a creative score, thoughtful cinematography, and a strong ending. And with those, a film really turned into this unforgettable image in your head. And obviously those aspects would also apply in anime just hits different when we're in the topic of aesthetic and nostalgia. Cause most of us millennials and Gen Zs grew up watching anime, and it's a huge part of our childhood. And of all of the topics that I talked about in here, I think anime is the only one who truly stands out. Anime in general is just really aesthetic to look at, and it's obviously because of its pretty colors, the amazing ambience, and its art styles. The anime aesthetic that I really love the most is obviously those that has a vintage look to it, and it's because the thing about older anime is that they use more diverse color palettes for shading, which made everything look more vibrant, nostalgic, warm, and etc. Basically the traditional hand-drawn anime. There's just something unique about it, especially when we're talking about moods and tones. And I grew up watching Evangelion and the old works of Studio Ghibli, and those kind of art style is definitely my favorite till this day. It's just very comfy and beautiful to look at. But that doesn't mean I don't like digital anime. I still like it, obviously. But even though I prefer the old look of anime, the works of Makoto Shinkai is just wow. I am completely speechless of his art style. Like, I wish I could watch Your Name for the first time again just to like relive that feeling that I had watching it, cause I went through like 17 different emotions while watching that. The art style, the music, the characters, the story, everything in that movie was just perfect. And animes like that tends to stick with you for a long time. But yeah, anime is just very aesthetically pleasing to look at, especially the 90s anime. Like, you can't even count how many times you've encountered someone that has a PFP of an old anime or those looped anime clips and slowed, sped up reverb music. Like, it's literally everywhere. And even if you didn't watch any of the older animes, if you take a look at it and like Google or something, you would just get this weird feeling of nostalgia even though you haven't watched it before. And in today, I'm not really that much of a fan of the newer anime because some are just looking kind of plasticky. I don't know, they're just so shiny and soulless. Older anime does hold the #1 spot for my nostalgia core list, but that #1 spot would also go to video games has just been a major part of my life. Like, I literally grew up playing the classics. And I have my best memories playing video games, and honestly, I don't regret any single second of it. Even when I was being scolded by my grandparents for spending more than 10 hours in a local net cafe, or the countless hours that I played Metroid Fusion on my Game Boy, or the PSPs that I've broke, aside from all of that, it was all worth it. And what made video games nostalgic? Well, that shouldn't even be a question. Like, video games can trigger nostalgia even more strongly than toys because we invest more emotions in playing them. And I know not all video games are good, great, or perfect. I had my share of terrible experiences playing awful games, but other than that, video games are just awesome, man. You totally cannot deny that. And don't even get me started on the aesthetics of it. Video games literally started on this. And now we have this. Who would have thought video games could look this good? The details, the stories, the soundtracks, the atmospheres. The overall experience is totally unforgettable. And the nostalgia that I have on playing video games is just absolutely exquisite. You know, I've been playing so much atmospheric games and all that stuff that sometimes I just want to play those retro VHS type of games since those really brings back that comfy nostalgic feeling like a lot. And I didn't really want to make this part a bit longer because I want to make a separate video about it. And yeah, video games can be beautiful. And if you have a problem about it, then let's settle this outside. So there you go. These are the most memorable aesthetics of the modern media that I've seen, interacted, or heard throughout the years that gave me so much nostalgia. And I know these will not be the last since I'm still young, you know, and there's still so much more to discover and experience. So yeah, I didn't really want to make this video that long because in the end of the day, I'm just probably gonna keep repeating what I've been saying for like the last 7 minutes or so. It's nostalgic, it's appealing, pretty colors, yada yada yada, you get the point. So what about you? What gives you that nostalgic feeling? Comment down below and I'm not gonna read it. And in conclusion,
guys, love yourself. That's all I gotta say. If you look in the mirror and hate yourself,
You should kill yourself now.